Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well. We have had a little bit of a rough start in a couple areas, technology wise, here doing our games on Game Time Media. So I want to go over and put together a quick training video for everybody to watch, and hopefully we can nip these things right in the bud before they get any worse or continue down this path. I want to remind everybody, and this is particularly important this year, that you need to check your school and your game every time you do a broadcast. Most of the time, it will be on the one you need, but just get in the habit of doing this. So for right now, it says Shakopee. Let's pretend I want to do Lakeville North. You select that, and then when you select your game, there's more just bogus games that I don't have any control over. Every time you do a game for Game Time Media, it will be an LN Panthers live or PL Lakers live or whatever mascot you're doing live presents the sport versus the team. Never ever select one that just says Lakeville North High School versus Shakopee men's varsity soccer or LN7 Black. Anything else that doesn't say the team live presents and the sport is not the right thing. Always select that. Any of these other ones will just be the automatic huddle camera, and it will not stream where we want it to, and you will have major problems, and your game won't happen, and you won't get paid. So make sure to check that you are on the right broadcast every single time. All right. Secondly, we have had a lot of people running the ad rundowns incorrectly. We are going to go through it and make sure that it's happening. And we're going to start with, if you look at your rundown, it tells you approximately when you need to start your rundown. This is a dual stream football game. For a dual stream, we have double the commercial inventory to get through, and it is our most watched game, our most important game. We need to get everything in, so you cannot deviate from this. So if it says to start 17 minutes on the warm-up clock, if you start with 15, it's not that big a deal, but try to follow this very closely. And again, you have your intro 60-second scene setter. Hey, this is Logan Anderson here from Lakeville North. They're taking on Prior Lake tonight, and Lakeville North has won 2 in a row, but Prior Lake is really good this year. They're not actually playing this year, but make sure to catch all the action after this. So easy enough. Quick intro, break. Depending on the team, these breaks run from 2.5 to 5 minutes. So then you just hang out and wait until you get into the next segment where you can talk about storylines, what's at stake. Honestly, you can talk about anything you want in this for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then you run the next pregame one. So this is actually a Lakeville South rundown versus Farmington. So you run South football pregame 1, Farmington football pregame 1. Then you have to run South football pregame 2, Farmington football pregame 2. And if you follow these timestamps, you'll be able to get everything in, and we'll all be happy. I've also seen a couple people have loaded the ads incorrectly and have just either ran the same break repeatedly or not ran the right breaks at the right time. And when you do that, they are set up in a way that if you run them right, everything gets in as many times as they're required to, and our clients are all happy. I have had more blowback from clients not seeing their ads as many times as they're supposed to this year than I have ever gotten before. So we are going to go over this. Obviously, you click on video clips. We're just going to clear all this out. And this is another one of the changes. If you're in Lakeville North, Lakeville South, or Prior Lake, you will click this plus sign, open playlist, and it will take you right to the place where you need to be. And then you go through And we're doing Lakeville South versus Farmington. You'll scroll down to Farmington football, pregame 1. Hold the command button as you scroll down to North football, pregame 1. Open, and then they'll both open up here. So Farm football 1, North football pregame 1, and then they're in order. So when you look at your rundown, they will coincide. You hit cut 1, do your next segment, cut to the other, and then you continue this process all the way through. If you want to show you a little pro tip, if you just get here and you hit the letter F, it takes you down to Farmington. So then we can save a little bit of scrolling time, go back to North, pregame 2, etc. So going back to our rundown, once you get through the pregame and everything is in order, we have to run, during football games particularly, a 60-second break during every timeout and a 30-second break after every score. Sometimes the officials, these are all supposed to be 1 minute, but the officials often will cut them short. So when you're doing this, you need to not finish your thought, show a replay, or continue talking about something at the start of the timeout. When you see a timeout, get to break within 5 seconds. Just finish your thought, get to break. You can revisit it when you get back. The same thing goes for the post-score breaks. So if you do, for example, if Farmington scores a touchdown, then you wait for the extra point to go through. As they're setting up for the extra point, I would actually recommend going into production truck and scrolling over to where your 30-second ads are. I don't have them all in, but I'm just going to bring them all in a big lump just so I can show you, for example. So here are all of our timeouts, 1 through 12, and 30 seconds, 1 through 11. Again, you're not going to get all of these in every time, but they are in a specific order that if you get everything in the way the rundown says, it'll be in. But after any kind of break for halftime or first quarter or whatever, I recommend scrolling over to your timeout list so that you're here. And then when you have a timeout, you're not saying, oh, I need to scroll over and find everything. Okay, so then when a timeout is called, you can go to video clips, and you're right by timeout 1, select cut. When there's a score, while they're kicking the extra point, I would recommend being in this and preparing, scrolling over to your 30-second breaks, which are usually the last thing at the end, finding whichever one you're on, selecting it. Extra point is up. It's good. Team X is up 7-0 over Team Y. We'll be back after this short timeout. Cut. And then you should be able to get them in just about every time. Again, every now and then the officials will go faster than what they're honestly supposed to do. In that case, use a little bit of common sense. If it's a kickoff and it sails through the back of the end zone, you don't need to cut through. If the play starts and it looks like there's a seam, cut back so they can see it. Or if it's after a timeout and it looks like they're running a play, if it's a dive up the middle, don't cut away for 2 yards. Just recap when you get back. If you see on the screen that something big is developing, you can cut out of the ad. I hope that all makes sense. So the next thing is, this is different than what it's been before. I think most of you have been trained on this, but if you haven't, or if it's not relevant to you, just bear with us and watch this to the end anyway. But if you are at anywhere except those first three places, Lakeville North, Lakeville South, or Prior Lake. So if you're at Farmington, Shakopee, Eden Prairie, Chaska, or Chanhassen, you're going to bring in your ads a little bit different. This is a way that allows me to update them remotely. You'll click on it the same way where it says Open Playlist. But instead of these initial playlists that you see, you're going to go up to here and select Dropbox. If for whatever reason that's not showing up, you can go to Desktop and then pick a Dropbox folder as well. And then it's the same thing. Then you're going to go to Playlists, open it up, and then it'll be just like you did with anything else where we see Lakeville South football versus, there we go, Lakeville South football, pregame 1, open. And then it'll show up and it'll run just like anything else that you've usually done. So again, if you're we don't have access from the IT departments at Lakeville North, Lakeville South, or Prior Lake, but that will be the way everywhere else. Please let me know if you have any questions on this. Again, our rundowns need to be followed exactly. So even if you're looking at the halftime one or the post-game ones where it looks silly, it's halftime 1, halftime 2, and then we get to post-game and it says run halftime 2 and South halftime 2. That is for a reason. Follow it exactly and load them in exactly as you see. It's not difficult. We need to have all of this run smoother. That's about it. I think it's all pretty self-explanatory. The few differences, soccer, again, you're just going to have pre-post half, and really the only time you're running 30 seconds is if there's an injury, and volleyball will have specific set breaks that coincide with the rundown. You can select those. And then they have timeouts and 30 seconds that you really should not have to use unless something weird happens. So read all of these every time, follow the rundown, and we'll get back on track. I want everybody to respond to me with an email and include the word gridiron, so I know you watch this to the conclusion and that you understand everything. That is all I have. Again, this is not a problem for everyone, but it's enough people that I just wanted to share it with everyone, and now nobody has an excuse past today. We need to start getting this right. Thank you, and have a great call the next time you're on the air.